Blessings and welcome back, everyone. I'm astrologer Elsa Wadsworth, and I'm here today with astrologer Matt Nolan from the Astrologer's Encyclopedia. Thanks for being here, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's always a pleasure. And we have a special guest with us today, Christopher Scott. Welcome, Christopher.
It's a pleasure.
Christopher is a traditional astrologer practicing out of Oregon, and we will be doing a interview with Christopher to sort of introduce him here to the channel and to the audience. But we're here today with a little special announcement. As you all know, we do a book club with astrologer David Fisher over on Patreon, and we're doing Demetra George's second volume of Ancient Astrology currently. And we have about 5-6 meetings left. And that's been going swimmingly. It's been about a year that we've been doing it. We just have gotten a lot of questions. What are we doing next? So we wanted to do a little announcement today on what we're doing. And it's kind of a save the date moment for all of you that are in the book club and for anyone who's interested in perhaps pursuing some more with us. We will be doing a reading of Benjamin Dykes' Firmicus, Maternus, Mathesis. Very exciting. As you know, this translation just, hit the shelves not too long ago. And we were going to be studying this together and decided to bring it to you guys. At first, we were thinking maybe we needed to do something a little more introductory, but in looking at the text, we figured it would be absolutely appropriate to bring to any, any astrologer with any experience level, put it that way. So just a little bit more background. Christopher is with degrees in classic languages and physics, and he specializes in ancient Greek. And Matt as well has some Latin experience as well as Christopher. So I am in like a private study group with Christopher where we are reading, having a close reading of Valens. It's super fun. We have an awesome little crowd over there. But what we do is we sort of go through the text carefully and look at the Greek and compare different translations from different authors and try to have a really sound understanding of what Valens has brought to us. And we thought, since Matt and Christopher both have Latin experience, that it would be really fun. Although Benjamin Dykes does an amazing job at annotating the book and translating the book, we thought it would be easier because he's done that work for us, and also fun because we can sort of compare texts, because we do have in the group some kind of Latin proficiency, that we could go through this book in a good way, pretty smoothly and pretty fun, I'd say, if you've never, breached kind of a classic text in astrology. So that being said, anyone have anything to add?
Yeah, one of the pieces too, and this is talking from the Valens group experience, is that when we've gone through the text, we also look at how we can apply the knowledge that he's giving us in a way that's sort of like the author is written for us, and we can look at it and say, does this work? And we can play with it. And that's, I think, one of the advantages of what we're going to do with this text too, is because the Mathesis was written for a non-astrologer to learn astrology. Right? It was written by an astrologer, a practicing astrologer. And so he does lay out all the basics and fundamentals. I mean, it's in the Mathesis where we get the thema mundi, right? That if you've been working through Demetra stuff, a lot of the structure that we understand as Hellenistic astrology comes out of this text because he lays it out so clearly for his non-astrologer friend.
Yes. And we can talk a little bit about Firmicus and who he was and what his writing style might be like, but he also lays out things that you'll be seeing, people giving talks about this and that. He lays out the planetary decades or the decennials. Mm-hmm. He lays out planetary combinations, really basic stuff, actually. So when people are like, oh my gosh, like ancient texts, like And I also want to compare and contrast to maybe like Valens or something. Firmicus was an attorney, and like you said, he's writing this book for someone who doesn't know astrology, whom he wants to really lay it out broadly, clearly, simply, things like this. So it's not written in sort of a mysterious prose. It's trying to get across basic concepts with a methodology and with clear language.
And he also gives clear delineation examples. So Firmicus is one of those people you can turn to and you say, what does it mean when I have Venus in the 7th house with Mars, opposition to it? Well, bet you Firmicus can tell you. And and it's really clear. And he can also give you variations like, oh, on a night chart, it means this. On a day chart, it means this other thing. And so you get working through this material closely, you'll get a really clear understanding of what, you bring the chart alive when you look at it, following some of his methods. So
absolutely. And that is the funnest part of all of our study groups, is pulling up people's charts with our own, our chart examples, and really diving into these ancient techniques. But it allows you to really question on your own. And I think when you're questioning on your own, you learn a whole lot, and questioning with the group. So I think this is going to be a really fun book, although some people might feel these ancient books are daunting. We've been extremely excited to do this. I think that's where we kind of started this book club journey with, is because Demetra had finally released the volume 2 book, and we were like, it's hot off the press, we want to read it. We do these study groups anyway, and so we'll make it available to the public. That was the same inspiration behind Benjamin Dykes' translation of the Mathesis. We are pumped to read it, and so we're making it available for the book club. Not to feel daunted at all by these ancient texts. We are going to give you like a little bit of an outline later on. I guess this was more of a save the date. Our Demetra study group ends at around solstice point of this year. But since we meet monthly, that's only a few meetings away. And so we are thinking to start the Mathesis around the new year. We'll find a good election that works for all 3 of us to begin. And we are going to lay out an outline with what chapters we're going to cover. So each meeting has like a certain amount of homework. We do it pretty easy. Like, I don't like giving too much to read where it feels daunting, just enough to make it fun. We will lay that out and let you know like how long that will take to get through the book, what the dates are. We're going to keep it on Wednesday evenings for like, US time. Wednesday nights, last Wednesday of every month. Yeah, anything else about like the layout? Or I think once we get towards the new year, we'll give you something more. We'll remind you, we'll go through it. As far as giving, we've done little YouTube shorts or little YouTube clips of each of our sort of study group pods. We've released them for free here on YouTube, like an overview. I think with the Mathesis, we'll probably end up doing some touchbacks or touch-ins with you guys on YouTube. Whether we'll do it chapter by chapter remains to be seen, or like pod by pod remains to be seen. We might come together quarterly and kind of talk about, what's been going on in the book, what we're learning, things like that. So we'll also keep you posted on that, like how we're going to keep you with us here on YouTube. So details to come. We just wanted to let you know what book we're doing in case you want to save up the money to get it, taking time to order it. I know some people that aren't joining from the US, it can take a little bit longer to receive your book. So giving you that save the date kind of planning. Yeah, and we're excited.
Cool. Just a final note maybe is that, to reiterate what Elsa had said, is that I think all of these ancient texts, this is not particular to Firmicus, have a reputation for being difficult, like obscure, boring. and like fatalistic, and Firmicus is none of the three. He's definitely not like beach reading, but it's not, you're not going to be sitting there like, what is he even talking about? I read the James Holden translation. I'm sure Ben Dykes' is even better, but even the James Holden translation, I was like able to follow it. Sometimes you'd have to read it a couple times, but it's pretty clear, like Elsa said, he's a lawyer. And then he's also really entertaining at times. Like he kind of complains about having to write this book. Like basically the context of the book is he was injured, I think, and then was like nursed back to health by this patron, right, in Rome. And then he was like, I'm going to write you this book. And then he was like, I didn't actually mean to say that. Now I have to write this book. And it took him like 20 years. Right. And it's this really long book. And so like intermittently throughout the book, he's kind of complaining. He's like, man, why did I even say I had to write this book? Anyway, this is what like the fixed stars are or something like that. And then also, like Christopher was saying, there's this one section in particular on the houses where he goes through each planet in each house by night and by day with different combinations. And so you get like Mars in the first by day is like a tyrant, a vicious, evil villain. But then by night, it's like a marauding, glorious general. And so you get this really nice gradation of significations that is really fun to read.
He also gives significations for like every degree of the zodiac.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
which is super fun.
I think another piece too is think of the time he's writing in, and he's writing in the late Roman Empire, and it's a sophisticated society. And while we can sit here from our place in the 21st century and look back at the 4th century and say, oh, those late classical, pre-medieval rubes or whatever, the fact of the matter is a sophisticated society. Many of the same issues we're dealing with today, they were dealing with then. And a person will find a lot of relevance in what he's talking about, whether it's, if you hear him complaining about the bureaucracy of the empire, well, that's just your job.
Right.
That's your job today.
Yeah, I think just in general with reading any older text, I think that's a real funny thing to have happen is like when Valens complains about his vision going bad and like his student dying. So he's apologizing for the disorganization of his book. It's really kind of funny to read people just being like regular people, 2,000 years ago.
And it's like the only thing that changed is what they were wearing and what language they were speaking.
Right.
Yeah. And so we don't want you to think that this is some like way heady, over the top book, which it can feel like if you're reading alone. So just to reiterate, I mean, because of that, we're just saying like we've got, Christopher and Matt Matt 7 years of Latin. I think some of it's high school, so it's not like an extreme proficiency, but we are able to like recognize words, look them up. Yeah. We are all practicing astrologers. We're able to give like chart examples in real time. And we're looking at things like planets in houses, like basic kind of astrology. For
like huge chunks of the book, like that's really what it is. Yeah.
Yes. And it is, I'd say it's even a beginner's book, like for real. Yes. So I want you guys to know that. And as we move through, if there is some more complicated techniques, they are coming as you've already learned. So like if you are brand new to astrology, I don't think that this is too intense at all whatsoever. We spend so much time. There's 8 books total in this book. And we spend so much time, even book 3 is just like Jupiter in the 12 places, Mars in the 12 places. And then we do get into really cool things like lots of fortune and spirit or fortune and diamond. The Lord of the Nativity, which we're also covering in Demetra's book. So for those of you who have done Demetra's book, it's not only review, but it's perspective on some of these things from the source materials. Planets in bounds. There's some Decan stuff, which is cool. He covers like every degree, giving delineations. And that's what's cool also is it's not just like rules upon rules. He's giving us like ways to think about it and actual delineations. And it's really fun to like when your degrees come up of the planets in your chart to hear about those. So that's going to be fun. And then topics from birth to death. So just like, a wider range of delineations for things that happen in the life. So it's not over your head. And we are just excited to do it together. He also talks a lot about the signs, Aries and its parents, Taurus. So he goes through a lot with the signs, which is really cool as well, because I think a lot of times we are, as traditional astrologers, very like place and planet focused. And some people have said, like, what do I really like? I think Matt and I earlier, we had this conversation too, like, how do we use the signs?
Yeah.
What are the signs about? At more than just like, oh, a Taurus will look at Venus or whatever, or Taurus is
yeah,
solid or whatever, Okay,
Yep.
cool. And then like, are we supposed to rely on like modern interpretations of like Taurus is a foodie or whatever,
Right.
So like, I think that's going to give a lot of richness as well. That being said, look, save the date. Look forward to more kind of like specificity around the solstice, the new year, and then make sure to watch out for Christopher Scott's interview where we introduce him a little more deeply to the channel. So thank you all both again for being here. Matt, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Astrologer's Encyclopedia on YouTube and on Twitter at @the_Astropedia.
Awesome. And Christopher, I think you might be a little bit like me where I'm like, email me. I'm working on a website. Yeah, I'm working on a website. Things are happening, but like email me. And then also, Christopher, do you have anything you'd like to mention?
Actually, I will have a domain coming up at some point soon. I have a domain name, so I just haven't put anything together on it. So keep eyes posted on that. Typically, people can reach me on email. If you're local in the area, I do give talks at the local occult supply shop, and so you can always find me there in Salem.
Yes, I forgot to mention, and we're going to get deeply into this when we go into your interview, but you're also a ceremonial magician and have like a really long background in magic, astrology, the occult, all of those things. So if you are in Oregon, check out Christopher's live offerings.
Yep.
Awesome. All right. Well, until next time, hope you all are having a great week, great time out there, and we'll see you on the other side. Ciao.
Bye.
Matahia matahokaka bersama yo demikian soba da soba kena matahiba nakawati ma demikian soba and so